Good.
All right, we're ready.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Jerome Town Council via Zoom, Wednesday, April 6, 2022, 3 p.m. To order. Candace, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dillenberg,
Present?
Vice Mayor Worth is not here. Ms. Harvey,
Present.
Ms. Barber,
Present.
Ms. Moore,
I'm here.
Yes, you are. Okay, good. Thank you. We're moving things around a little bit, but first I would like to have Candace read the resignation letter, if she would,
I
from
will.
our
And I'm
Vice Mayor.
I'm going to share my screen. I'll put it on my screen, then I'll read it, okay?
Yes,
Okay, can you all see that?
yes. I can.
April 6, 2020, the Honorable Dr. Mayor Jack Dillenberg, Town of Jerome, 600 Clark Street, Jerome, Arizona. Dr. Mayor, effective as of 3 p.m. on this date, I do hereby resign from the position of Vice Mayor and as a member of the Council of the Town of Jerome. This is an incredibly difficult decision to have made and was not determined without careful consideration. It has been a distinct honor to have twice been elected by the wonderful people of Jerome and been appointed by my fellow council members to the position of Vice Mayor. I am eternally grateful to all who put their trust in me to lead, expressed confidence in my abilities, and have allowed me to be part of a team that works diligently to make conscientious decisions regarding the best interests of the town. Additionally, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the town staff and all they do to support the council and the constituents. They have been endlessly patient, always accessible, and honestly care about the well-being of our community. I have truly enjoyed every moment of representing the town of Jerome as an elected official, even the most difficult ones. The relationships formed and strengthened, the guidance offered, and the experience gained over the past almost 4 years have been invaluable, personally and professionally. A heartfelt thank you to all in our community, as well as across the region, state, and country who have contributed to this remarkable experience. I am confident the excellent balance between progress and preservation this council has promoted will continue, and I hope very much I may have the opportunity to serve our town again in the future. Sincerely, Mandy Worth. And that's copied to the council members, the chairs of our various boards and commissions, and our staff.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we just need to take an action to accept the resignation?
I don't
No
believe
action.
we need to do that. She just has resigned, and that's her prerogative to do that.
Thank you very much. So as of this moment, Mandy is officially resigned. Yes, Sage, I see your hand up and I see Jane's hand up. Yes,
We're
Sage.
waiting. I think we're waiting for the next thing.
Yes. The next thing, you have any idea what it could be? Yes.
Yes, but you haven't rearranged yet.
Well, I said I was doing it when I started.
If I may,
Yes. Yes, you may, Jane.
I do believe she meant 2022, not 2020 on the date.
I'm sure she did.
Yes,
We kind of lost 2 years there, I
there
guess.
you go. Good. So-
I just want to say how much I appreciate her
Yeah.
involvement in this council the last 4 years she's been on it, and I really, really appreciate her time and dedication.
Thank you. So we're going to be moving item 4 to become item 3 and item 3 to become item 4. So that we are now going to select a vice mayor filling the council vacancy. Does anybody have a nomination? I don't see any hand. No, I see a Sage.
I would like to nominate Alex Barber.
I would second that. Alex?
I will second that.
Okay. Good.
I will accept the vice mayor position. I was the next in line as far as votes, so
Yeah.
it seems like that should be the way it would go. Thank you for the nomination, Sage. Thank you for the second, Jack.
And do we need to take a vote on this?
Yes,
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Uh,
No? Oh, just delayed there. I get it, Jane. Okay, unanimous decision. Congratulations, Alex, as the Vice Mayor of Jerome. And you will catch up this week for sure. And I'm looking forward to it. Of all my time in Jerome, there are very you're one of the people that knows the most. So I'm so delighted. You've been a great contributor to the council, and I know this is just going to continue. And as mayor previously, thank you so very much. Get back to work.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
may I suggest that this item also included the discussion of filling the vacancy, that we put that off until after the interview?
Yes, I would like to do that.
Okay.
Recommend. Yes, Sage, please.
I would like to also do that. Can we move that to discussion for the 12th, the meeting of the 12th?
I can add it. I'm going to have to add something else to that agenda anyway now, so I'll add it to the 12th. and we'll-
Cool. There you go. Excellent. Sounds good. All right. So moving right along with our business. And I lost my screen here. Let me just get this back. And so now interview with our town manager applicant. I'm really delighted that we have Brett Klein with us today, out-of-state applicant for the position of town manager. And I must say, reviewing your CV and stuff, really highly qualified and great. Yes. Was there a question or comment or something? I was going to introduce him to speak, or Candace, is there something we need to do that I'm not
No.
doing?
No,
Okay, so I'll let you, if you'd like to do some introduction. I think we have some questions for you, but we'd certainly be open to your remarks, please. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for taking the time and for inviting me to interview and proceed with the process. My name is Brett Klein, as you know. You have my resume and cover letter. I'm assuming everybody has that with them. We're mostly, my wife and family and I are mostly Midwesterners, born and raised in the Chicago and Chicago suburbs, and then have been around the Midwest for the majority of our lifetimes. I spent about 20 to 25 summers, extended summers, springs, sometimes skiing in Flagstaff, just a lot of time in Arizona visiting our family. My wife and I have worked our lives basically through our educational pursuits and our work experience to put ourselves into a position to retire to Arizona. And we fully intend on doing that, but we also saw an opportunity based on where we're at in our careers, where our children are at, for the opportunity to get to Arizona and be with our extended family and friends even sooner. So recently set about that process of examining potential possibilities. We're both happy and challenged and with our rewarding jobs right now, and our children are also happy and entrenched in the school districts locally, but everybody is on board for when we find the right opportunity. They all love, we are all very tired of right now it's 42 degrees with 38-mile-an-hour winds, and we're looking forward to not having to deal with that well into April at some point in the near future, hopefully. So we've been seeking opportunities anywhere between, the Flagstaff and the Phoenix metro area. Saw this opportunity with Jerome. It fits in with my skill set. It fits in with my desire, what I'm looking for the next 15, 20 years. Jerome is kind of like a cross between one of my favorite places where I worked, Hillsborough, and one of my favorite places to be. I wouldn't expect you to know Galena, Illinois, but it's very, very similar to Jerome and the area as well. So that's kind of what brought me to apply for the position.
Great. Thank you. We're delighted. And I'd like to open up the floor to colleagues of mine. If anyone would like to start with a question today, Sage, are you?
I would actually like to offer Alex the opportunity to ask questions first. That way she can get her questions answered if she has to leave the meeting.
Okay. Alex, are you there?
I am here.
And your question?
You caught me trying to eat. That's why I have my
Picture
my
off.
camera off. My question would be, if you got the job, would you try to do it remotely? Or I did understand you were trying to retire to this area, so you're interested in moving here?
Oh, yes, it wouldn't be, certainly not at the retirement age right now, certainly in no position to retire. That was just our long future career or future plans, personal plans. Remotely, no, it would certainly be to be on site and immersed within the community and be in the community.
Okay.
Another question?
And
Yeah?
then my other question would be, have you done any managerial for any other municipalities?
Yes, I've managed several communities ranging in size from 1,300 residents to 8,000 residents, and then worked in government also in a managerial capacity and administrative capacity ranging from 24,000 to a county of 750,000. So I kind of have experience in large government organizations and smaller, both rural and urban.
Great. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Sage?
you. And I don't have any other questions, Jack.
Thank you so much, Alex. Sage, you okay? You want to go next, or I can have Jane?
I can, yeah, I have a couple of questions. Give me a second. Let me look
Of
through real
course.
quick.
Yep.
So I guess I'll start off with, please describe the most difficult personnel matter you have experienced and what made this difficult for you. Looking back, should you have handled it differently?
Okay. I've had several of those to choose from. I will do, so one of my positions early on in my career was as the director of the Office of Professional Standards. And my job as such was to review employee conduct or dishonorable conduct and be the repository, kind of the individual who receives all outside complaints and internal complaints. I had an opportunity where I was assigned, at the time, I was a lieutenant, kind of a upper mid-level manager of a law enforcement organization. And I was assigned to investigate the brother of my chief. So he was a line staff member, and the chief, he was a kind of a difficult individual. He promoted me throughout the years, but we had vastly different, we were on vastly different ends of the ethical and moral scales. That's
Hello.
what I'll say about that. So of course I was worried, but you know, the sheriff said I would have the full support. And I knew that I always make sure to dot all I's and cross all T's and to make sure it's extremely fair and objective, because there are many times where accusations and complaints have become unfounded. More often than not, there is something there. So I usually go in expecting something. Maybe it's just a simple policy or procedural change that is necessary and some supervisory counseling. But in this case, ultimately, it rose to the level of dishonorable conduct, malfeasance, you know, using your position of public trust in an unlawful manner. So it got rather complicated. I utilized the state's attorney, the county state's attorney at that time, as kind of a sounding board as I was running through the steps, the procedural steps of the investigation. Ultimately, I just made sure to record everything that was legal to record, document everything, and follow the procedures and practices that I was trained to do. And that's how I carried out that investigation. The results weren't positive for that employee. Unfortunately, overall for the organization, it was good that it was brought to the attention, and it was good that the ultimate action was how the disposition was handled. But needless to say, that 5 or 6 months was a rather difficult time. Looking back on it, I don't think that I would have done anything differently. I set out to do, I knew it would be under a microscope. I knew I was going to have some difficult conversations, especially when the chief would ask for updates on the investigation and I could not provide those due to it being his brother. But ultimately, no, I don't have anything that I would have done differently per se. I think just stuck with the procedures and practices that I had done all along. Thankfully, that wasn't my first one at the time. I did have a difficult first one upon having that assignment, but that was not my first one, and it all ended up, as well as it could.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think the next one I want to ask you is going to be, please describe your experience with preparing and administrating budgets.
Oh, we lost you there. We lost you there, Sage.
Do you want me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, please describe your experience with preparing and administering municipal budgets.
Okay, gotcha. So as I started in law enforcement and worked my way up in the rank, I became an administrative position rather early on in my career. That was kind of my first taste of budget. That was a $17 million department budget. It wasn't an overall budget, but it was a pretty sizable personnel and commodities budget that I would handle. I would have to present that to the county elected official, the sheriff in this instance, but also to the county board, the finance administration committee, and the full county board for our department budget, because it was a sizable budget. From there, as I transitioned to municipal management, I was always in charge of preparing the budget, presenting the budget, of course, with department heads and key staff and personnel, and always under the umbrella of the policy and objectives of the financial policies and objectives of the council, of the governing body at the time. But I have rather extensive experience with budgets and capital improvement plans, capital equipment plans, borrowing, working with grant funding, financial analysis, financial oversight, and the like. I could that's one of my, I feel that's one of my strengths, and I could talk for a long time about it, but don't, I think that kind of summarizes it in a nutshell.
Thank you. A lot of the reason I asked that question is because not everybody has probably pulled down your resume, and I know we have some public in here, and I thought it would be a good question for them.
Yep.
Thank you for your answer. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your familiarity with the Arizona open meeting law?
So as I was looking in, Arizona is very similar to Iowa, from things like your planning and zoning commission. Some other states will call it a little different. They'll have planning, they'll have zoning commissions, but Arizona has significant similarities in terms of closed sessions, meeting into closed sessions, the exceptions to the open meeting laws. It's just really similar to Iowa. So while I can't cite verbatim the code reference or statute citation, the exceptions to open meeting laws are very similar to what I'm used to.
Great.
Which kind of is about endorsing transparency and public participation, if obviously whenever possible.
Okay, so you would say on a scale to 1 to 5, how well?
3.75 to 4.25, I suppose.
Thank you. And I think I'll ask just one more, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please.
So it's probably just a trick question, but
That's okay.
Jerome,
It's
Jerome
a trick
has,
job.
it is a trick job. Jerome has excellent department heads. Describe the town manager's role and relationship with department heads. How would you establish a leadership position, especially with the fact that we have some very long-term heads here? And how will you promote communication and teamwork within and across the department?
Sure, I believe one of the first things to do in that position is to listen, build up rapport, build up trust. That takes time, and that's going to take time. One of the things I do as the leader is really get involved with each and every staff member. It is so costly to replace a staff member. It's better to, if a performance improvement plan is needed, if anything, if the employee is any bit salvageable, it is always best to try to work and develop that employee, just because of the time, the institutional knowledge, and anything else. That it's just overall, there's intangible costs and tangible costs to replacing a staff member. So I want those staff members to, I want them to be motivated. I want them to like their job. I want them to put the town, put the city, put the municipality first. So I talk to them about what their objectives are, what their goals are with that position, what their 2 to 5 year goals are, where they strive to be. If they want to be, something completely different than they have that Jerome doesn't even offer, I will help them with that opportunity, and we'll go about seeking the personal skills, the educational skills, and the training opportunities, because that will benefit Jerome ultimately, providing that person, also keeping that person enthused and energetic. So I always try to, whether it's new, I seek to recruit, or whether it's an established, I seek to retain all the employees and all the valuable personnel resources, and try to, as best as possible. And maybe they have an objective that might not suit their knowledge, skills, and abilities, might not suit their talents, and we'll try to meld what I might think and what others who've been around them for years might think, trying to meld those two together into a position that they can stay challenged. I try to instill in them, empower them to make the decisions, to be strategic decision makers, of course, in accord with the overall town council's strategic policies and initiatives. But I try to empower them, and I try to instill in them that as long as they can articulate the rationale behind their decision, and it's got a good foundation, a basis, then, if there's an issue or a mistake, we can work from there and develop that. That's kind of my philosophy, with staffing, is try to bring them up to their fullest potential and maybe even exceed what they thought it would even be possible. And of course, there are limited opportunities for upward mobility, but we can certainly do it through position titles, through responsibilities, etc. And I am sorry, that was a multi-pronged question. I'm sure I missed a little bit there.
You did pretty good.
I think you covered
Okay.
it pretty well. Thank you very
You
much.
did good. You did good. No, excellent. Really appreciate your perspective on that. Thank you, Sage. Appreciate that.
Yes, and I will give the floor
Yeah.
to Jane.
Jane, you're on.
Oh,
Or you're off.
boy, you know me.
I do. There's something to be said for
Lots of
consistency. I
questions.
like it.
I'm reading off my tiny phone here. And it went away now. Okay. Yeah, I should have printed this out and I did not. I would like to know what your impressions of Jerome are, and why you might be a good fit for our community, and what you think you could bring to the town that may be lacking.
Okay. You guys like multi-part questions.
I know.
Yes, yeah.
Wait till you
I'm
see the
trying to
council meetings.
cram all my
So my impression of Jerome, through my research, what I've done, of course, as I mentioned in my introduction, if you go to the Arizona Municipal League, there's hundreds of jobs, but there's only a very select few. We want the ideal opportunity. When I was researching Jerome, the natural beauty, of course, everybody knows that, recreational opportunities, but in reading your past audits, it's very impressive to have no segregation of duty issues. So there must be some solid financial policies in place that I can certainly carry on with. The audit showed no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies. So the audits were sound. It appears to, looking at the budgets the past few years that are on the website, there seems to be a desire to only, kind of maximize the efficiency, maximize the use of the dollar. Be good. You all seem to be exceptional stewards of the public funds that you're entrusted to. I saw some healthy balances, some healthy fund balances. Some issues, of course, that are going to be evident with small communities, but fiscally relatively sound. Sales tax, I'd imagine it went down a little bit during COVID, but it seems to have bounced back a bit. I think there's
Doing very well on that. Yeah, really well.
I think there's I think there's opportunities to expand that too. As I also stated in my introduction, as part of the answer to this question, it's kind of a combination of two communities that are near and dear to me. In addition to the location, which is ideal with friends and family in Flagstaff. My sister and brother are building a bed and breakfast in Dewey Humboldt right now. So, and then all my family that's throughout Scottsdale, Mesa, Tempe area. So, there's the location for me. There's the terrific location for that Jerome has, of course. And then what can I bring to the table? Well, although a smaller community, a full service community, volunteer fire department, a police department, community, have all the commissions, committees, and boards, and all the departments that I've had both practical experience actually working in all the departments, but also leadership and supervisory experience of all the departments. I've brought, I enjoy identifying grant opportunities that maybe haven't been thought of on a state, national level even, and bringing those and seeing how they can grow. When I was in the community of 1300, that reminds me a lot of Jerome, we created a business incubator from federal commerce grant funding, the CDBG loan grant opportunities. And that was a somewhat on a much smaller scale, but similar to your cooperative gallery. We started with a couple businesses. The idea was that they would then build or buy one of the vacant storefronts adjacent once they got going, and then it just kept recycling. And that was very successful, as was the downtown revitalization grant. I feel that the grant dollars go so much farther in smaller communities. And I feel I can bring that element, the leadership experience, the HR and financial and personnel management experience as well. And then of course, I feel I'm very energetic and enthusiastic, and I'm sure Ms. Gallagher is the same, but she is now heading into retirement, and I would love the opportunity to succeed.
That'd be great. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. And I have more, Jack.
Surprise! Wow, what a
more.
surprise! Oh boy! And another humor is an important part of our style.
Yes.
Well, that's good.
It's a good thing. Yes,
Mhm.
Jane, please.
Yes.
With respect.
It
It's all
helps
with
a lot
respect.
with difficult
It's all with
situations.
respect, though.
doesn't
It is.
Okay, I have been to Galena. Yeah,
Oh, excellent.
so I'm familiar. I went to art school in Chicago, so.
Oh, super.
If you're familiar with tourist towns, there's kind of a fine balance between residential and business with the thousands of tourists we have here on a daily basis. And we also have the ongoing issue with vacation rentals in town, taking up housing for a lot of our workforce and making affordable housing really difficult. And I was wondering if you had an opinion about vacation rentals and if you're aware of the issues in this state and how you might consider keeping the balance between residential and the businesses.
Sure. Okay. And I have some knowledge, of course, and I'll back up to since you're from Chicago, you must know about the Wisconsin Dells area a bit.
Yes.
Large tourists, thousands daily as well, especially during the summer. But now there's massive indoor water parks, so they keep their they keep the tourism and visitors going all year round. So the community that's most closely resembles Jerome that I was in, Hillsborough, is right there. It's in what they call the non-glaciated area of the Midwest. It's rocky, hilly, certainly not mountainous compared to Arizona, but for the Midwest, very hilly and mountainous terrain. It brings with it a lot of visitors and a lot of tourists. And yes, and I understand the balance of serving those because it's very important to the local sales tax, of course, and local economy. But also, as you pointed out, and that is probably my only concern, really, is finding affordable housing as I've looked there. So that's certainly a concern. I do have experience running a housing authority for low to moderate income. I do have experience in obtaining housing opportunities and options, and I know the topography of Jerome really limits that. But overall, and of course, I know that those individuals own their homes and and are renting them out, and that is an issue that gets the prices going up. And then it makes affordable housing for those that work in Jerome. Since you studied in Chicago, certainly you know of Highland Park and the North Shore. The North Shore's the highest home values in Illinois, where it's not uncommon, probably similar to Jerome, not uncommon to find a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 square foot home for $700,000, depending on the location. But yet they have full blue collar workers, government workers. So I've experienced in 2 states where we've started community land trusts that were developed specifically for local employees to help them find affordable housing. I don't know if you are familiar with community land trusts. I don't believe there's any state in the country that outlaws them. But that's something that I do have some experience with.
Thank you.
And you don't want to venture a comment about vacation rentals, I guess?
Well, I touched on it in that, of course, they will, the owners feel that it's their right, of course, and there's
Right.
got to be that balance, as you said, that's got to, and if it's overwhelmingly vacation rentals, first of all, they inflate the home values, and then there's other issues there's supplementary issues, as you mentioned, of the people that work there being able to find affordable housing. I think that's one where in my role, I would take the lead from the philosophy of the town council and carry out and implement that to the best of my ability.
Thank you. And in Arizona,
I also wondered.
Unknown caller.
Did I miss something or?
no,
I don't know who that was, but
guilty.
I wondered about your familiarity with historic preservation and issues surrounding that.
Sure. So in 2 of the communities where I obtained a CDBG downtown revitalization grant, they both had buildings on the National Register of Historic Places. One community, I started a historic preservation commission. So I'm familiar. I know that just because it's on the register does not mean it's cost prohibitive to do repairs and improvements to them. I know there's also grant funding that's available to make those improvements and repair in particular. So I sat on the both as an ad hoc member and as a member of the and an ex officio member on historic preservation commissions. So I have quite a bit of familiarity with the bureaucracy and the and the tangible product that they of the National Register of Historic Places. Kind of tailed off there, sorry, but yes, I have quite a bit.
That's great. And so it sounds. That's great. Thank you. And it appears that you're familiar with small town politics from what you've said in your resume, working in small towns. So I would imagine you've dealt with difficult people. And I was just wondering, it sounds like you feel like you have good communication skills, and I'm wondering also, being that the entire town is a historic landmark, we have people that come here and want to do certain things, and threats of legal issues, and I'm wondering how you dealing with issues in small towns, potential legal issues, dealing with difficult people. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Certainly. So I like hearing from citizens, even irate ones, or visitors, even ones who aren't happy, who have a complaint, who are even at a really high level. I look at it as a challenge to de-escalate it. I use it as an opportunity to inform. Often it doesn't work all the time, but oftentimes if you listen to them, if you provide feedback, especially when you say you're going to follow up, if you follow up within that time frame, I try to make sure to follow up with them within a reasonable time frame, and I try to just patiently, explain the reasoning and the logic behind the policy decision, the public policy decision. I find that usually works. It doesn't always work. There'll be challenges, immense challenges, and ones where I spend a couple hours with them on the day, and I know I have more, and I go home and ready for, I have to have a workout and then go to bed or something, just because that was just draining because they weren't getting it. But ultimately, when you do listen, when you do hear, when you don't try to talk over, when you try to patiently explain the virtue of what the town is trying to do, that generally works. I do have a lot of experience in that because with the county of 700,000, I was the person that received all the complaints for that sheriff's office. We had 500 employees. So, and even when I was, I always wanted, my goal was always for them to come away thinking that, government isn't all that bad. Government's necessary, and government can be our friends. And there's enough out there that have, there's enough naysayers that, every encounter, I want them to think, okay, professional, and they have a utilitarian aspect, kind of the greater good. They might be in that percent, they might be in the lower percent that isn't going to be positively impacted by that. But maybe there were 75% that are positively impacted by that. That doesn't mean they're going to feel very good about it, but it just has to be explained to them with patience, time, understanding, listening. And that's kind of how I try to handle those situations. I've certainly been in a lot of difficult situations and certainly understand the small town politics. And in terms of threats of legal proceedings. So in all instances, and not so much in the smaller communities, but certainly I was the elected officials, I was the organization's individual that would go and attend any court proceeding. So, you know, in Lake County, we had some civil rights court cases. We had some EEOC cases. We had FMLA cases. We had certain cases that made it to federal court. And you being from having studied in Chicago, being in Chicago federal court is rather intimidating. The plaintiff attorney starts out, you know, just straight trying to bulldoze and trying to intimidate and trying to bully the people. And in most cases, certainly if I was there, the individual was doing their job. And I'm representing the organization, and then we have our legal counsel as well. You know, but I've seen these hardened individuals brought to tears by the plaintiff's attorney. So I've had a lot of experience being inside a courtroom, and I hope it's ultimately best to never enter a courtroom. And we're going through a rural water type of legal suit right now where I'm at, and you know, we're confident. We're always confident. I think you all are probably, as you make a collective decision, confident that you have legal precedents on your side. But nonetheless, when you do go to court, it's a roll of the dice, of course, and you don't want to take that decision out of your hands and the person who's, you know, threatening that. And I try to instill that as well, that, you know, what you don't, we don't, there's no control. So let's try to find common ground and see, and even if common ground can't, let's try to explain the rationale behind the decision.
Thank you. I think that's about it. So you also are familiar with water issues then, legal water issues?
Yes, yes, going through a 2-year-long suit right now. It's pretty much wrapping up. There's out-of-state counsel from Oklahoma. You know, I'm familiar with the water. You know, the water. There's water shortages everywhere. Of course, not to the extent of the Southwest, but yes, I do have experience dealing, both running a water utility and dealing with the legal aspects of the water utility.
Great. I think that's about it for me right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack, do you know that you're muted?
People pay extra for that, you know. I wanted to check if any of our staff might have a question, or if you might have a follow-up question, Candace.
Just one. I know that you are in Iowa now and you'd have to relocate here. When would you actually be able to begin working here?
So with an offer, I would say, actually, we just sold our home. And that's with that's with the design of relocating to Arizona. We do happen to have another home, that a family home that will be in the meantime. So in terms of that, that's a huge obstacle that's already taken care of. I have several roles within my organization, and there where I'm the only one, and I always try to make sure somebody else knows, you know, at least a little bit, and you know, so because you know that's just good for any organization to have somebody else who can pick up the ball and roll with that. But nonetheless, there are some issues going on. I would say upon notification, 30 to 45 days. Housing would be a big thing. I'm not sure if there's, I could not see if there was a residency requirement for this
There is
position.
not at this time, no.
Okay, I mean, that's helpful because areas like Cottonwood seem to have some housing available, and the preferred would be Jerome, if something met our family's needs and desires. So.
Cool. Any, I don't know, any of our folks, Melanie, Christian, any question? No? You
What
good?
about you, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, well, me, it's easy. Well, one of the things, how would you describe your style? Your style of management. How would you describe that yourself, please?
Sure. So from an academic standpoint, it would be, we're servant leaders to the citizens and our councils. I like a coaching leadership style, as I pointed out in response to one of the questions about preparing the staff for their next venture, for where they want to be, for where they see themselves. I oftentimes, and it's hard for some staff, it takes some time when I say, what do you think? And I try to set that basis early on because I truly mean, what do you think? And I know some staff members have a difficult time, but I think a decision made collectively, especially when there's time. I have no problem, with my law enforcement background and administrative background, making a decision quickly based on the information I have at hand when the situation calls for it. But when it doesn't require immediacy and urgency, and there can be a collective decision, that's always best. And I'd like to hear from the people who are hands-on on the on the water mains, on the laterals, hands-on on the snow removal and the the unique road construction in Arizona. I like to put them at ease enough that they feel they can provide input and provide suggestions without any fear of reprisal or anything. I try to have a laid back but professional. I feel government has a little bit of a negative view from some of the outside.
I've heard that, yes.
So I like to maintain a professional environment, especially when somebody comes in, but otherwise, behind closed doors, in instances where we're not in the public view, I'd like it to be, laid back, and with people motivated to do their job to the best of their abilities. You mentioned humor, and that's important. I have a dry sense of humor. I can't use it early on because they have to get to know that aspect. Otherwise, it could be taken wrong. But certainly, a sense of humor goes a long way. It goes a long way in diffusing difficult situations.
Absolutely.
It goes a long way in leadership and just carrying out the objectives of the council, I feel.
Great. In the last few years, have you done anything or taken any classes or courses to help you enrich your abilities and experience? Just curious, have you pursued anything over the last 3 or 4 years?
Sure. I'm always doing that. I'm looking for opportunities. ICMA has the credentialed manager. I did a little more formal certified public manager program. Specifically in the last few years, though, I sought out counsel and mentorship from 2 long tenured administrators, managers, to help in what I think are my areas of that I could use some improvement upon. One of them's the one in the organization I'm in right now. Just no matter what, the many different. One of my issues is striking a personal and professional balance, and because I don't know, I really dive into the work. I feel that was more common as I was younger, and I felt it came out of the need to prove myself, I think, to some extent. But now I'm secure, much more secure. I tend to utilize staff much more. I tend to identify their strengths and opportunities for them. Those are some of the things. I sought mentorship from a couple of local long tenured managers, administrators, as I head to the last 15 to 20 years of my career, and they are wrapping up completely their career. I thought it would be a great opportunity.
Great, thank you. I'm good. I don't know if Candace, from my perspective, as far as questions and things, I don't know how we want to, do we
No.
want to?
I don't have any
Okay,
other.
Sage has a
questions.
hand
Sage
up,
has her
sorry.
hand up, yes.
Yes, dear.
Yeah, I'll
Yes,
do a
Sage.
follow-up question.
Thank you, thanks.
So our current town manager also serves as town clerk and is an internationally certified municipal clerk. Do you have experience with town clerk duties? And do you feel you could handle both positions, or do you feel they should be separated?
Yes, I absolutely feel I could handle both duties. I would want to, as I kind of alluded to, I like to work. I'm not sure one of them would keep me challenged enough. I know there's a lot going on in Jerome, and I know there's a lot to do. And I know, I know Ms. Gallagher is extremely busy handling both of those duties. But that's just kind of the nature of what I'm used to. I was a certified election clerk in the state of Wisconsin. There's some differences, but I saw your primary with runoff elections, and I'm familiar with that. I've done for now. Currently, I act as the clerk, deputy clerk, so that I handle everything from liquor license, business licenses, all the licensing, and there's dot I's, cross T's. The clerk's job is pretty much that, as coordination, organization, taking care of that, preparing agendas, taking up minutes and doing it as expeditiously and as efficiently as possible. So yeah, I have experience. I'm not a certified municipal clerk. I have been an administrator / clerk in many locations. Each time I went to get that certification, between the combination of my formal education and experience, it was always, well, you don't really need to do that, and you don't need to take that class, but why don't you teach this class? So I've taught some classes.
Good.
I've taught some classes at the Clerk Institute. I was on the curriculum advisory committee for the Clerks Institute here, and so I have quite a bit of experience, both from the manager perspective and a clerk perspective, and they're both, they have some similarities, of course, and they cross paths a lot. So yes, I definitely feel
Good.
it would be within the realm of possibility to do both positions.
Do you have any questions for us?
Just kind of the process when you were looking for. I'm not sure what Ms. Gallagher's exact plans are, but the timeline, the process. I had the question about the residency, and that sounds like as of now, no.
You're okay?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's important, especially in a small community, to live there if at all possible, and immerse yourself in the community. I don't mind when I'm walking with the kids to go get ice cream or something, to be stopped, and I fully expect that, and that's part of it. And I think, but on the flip side, there's a little different aspect there than working for Scottsdale or or Tempe, and I think it's the aspect that I like.
Yes.
So that was answered. I guess it would just be kind of the timeline now and process going forward.
Right. My last day here will be July 28th.
Okay.
Ideally, it would be great to have someone on board at least a month or more
Sure.
before I leave, so that I can work alongside that person.
Yeah, that would be great.
So you got time. That's good. Any, let's see, and for your family, you mentioned kids. Am I allowed to ask about that?
No,
Well, sure. That's no
I'm
problem.
not,
no, don't ask that.
I'll go ahead.
I'm not allowed to ask. I apologize. I'm just checking. I
Well,
want to
since
be a good
mentioned
I
it in
want to
my-
be a good neighbor. I want
Yes,
to be a
I
good
wish.
neighbor. Okay, we're good. We're good. That's why I
Okay.
checked in with the town manager. See, you got a lot of responsibility as the town manager.
Yeah, I mentioned it in my introduction. and-
Okay, good, good.
Yeah, so
I love it. It's been a pleasure. It really has. Any other questions or from anyone? No, it's great. It's been very informative. We wish you great success, however the pathway emerges.
well, thank you very much.
It's been a real pleasure getting to know you. Is there anything else we need to do, Candace, at this point? We want to.
No, I will mention that I believe Mr. Klein said he might be in Arizona later in April. Is that correct?
Yes, I might be in Arizona the last week of April. Still kind of finalizing those plans.
So
So that
there
might be a
an
good opportunity,
To
yeah.
say hello in person, you know.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I see Sage's hand up. I'll get that in a second. But yeah, that would be wonderful. If you're here in April, if we can coordinate something, that would be very nice.
Super.
Sage, please.
I just want to ask the question Candace usually asks when we do this, but she hasn't yet. Are you opposed to us discussing you in closed session?
Oh, no, not at all.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great. Okay, so.
And I'd like to say thank you.
Oh,
too.
thank you very much.
Yeah, me too, all of us. I think
Thank
really,
you.
it's been very informative. We're delighted. And I have to commend you on the resume, and your experience and things that you've accomplished.
Mhm.
Really terrific. And well,
Well,
let's
thank
hope, I hope this works out for everyone's benefit. So there you go.
Super.
I'll keep it at
Okay.
that. Do we just need to move to adjourn? Is that it?
Yes, uh-huh.
Can I get a
Motion-
mo- I got a
motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Is there a second? Some, Jane? No?
Second,
Yay, we got a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
aye.
Opposed, no. It is now, I'll just call it 4:00, and we are adjourned. Everyone, thank you for
Thank you very much,
participating.
Brett.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you
thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Brett,
Have a
thank
good
you very
evening.
much.
Nice to
It's been a
meet
real
you.
pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Look forward to seeing you in person. All the
Thank you.